What percentage of GDP to defense spending would it be if we passed the president's budget? In terms of GDP spent on defense, do you know what that
Probably
number
about 4.5%, 5%.
Okay. What's been the average since World War II? Do you know?
Probably 3%.
Okay. Right now, we're about what, 3?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. On the lower end of what we've been, about average, right?
As a percentage of GDP, the increases are right around where we have been as a percentage of GDP.
Do you consider the world in which we live in terms of threats to the United States average?
No, we have adversaries across the globe, and the president is taking action against them.
Well, I spent a lot of time in this space. There's nothing average about what we're facing. We got a world very dangerous. We got bad actors on the move. Thank God President Trump is trying to stop one of them, the Iranians. This got nothing to do with the budget, but do you think that Iran had a nuclear weapon, they'd use it?
We certainly wouldn't want to tempt them to use it. That's a key foreign policy objective of this president.
Well, we don't want to even play that game. If you're Israel, you certainly don't play that game. One Holocaust is more than sufficient. So we're having to deal with a nuclear-armed Iran, their ambitions. We got a more aggressive China. Would you say China is fairly aggressive, at least in the economic space, military buildup?
Yes.
China is on the move, folks. We all say, you know, we want to protect Taiwan. We got to do more than just talk about it. They're building a big deep water Navy, and we need to up our game. Do you know how many ships we have in our Navy?
Around 290.
Okay, and they say we need how many to really cover the space?
We need to go up to at least around 400 ships.
Okay, well, how do you build more ships? You need money. And if you don't build more ships, you have a gap. So I would say there's nothing average about the environment we live in, that we got a lot to do in a quick period of time to keep us safe. That's why I support the budget. So we go from 3 to 4.5, but if you look in the history of America, since World War II, 4.5 is not like loading up the place. I think it's consistent with what it's kind of the Cold War number, to be honest with you. So my belief is you're very much on track with defense spending. The necessity is there. When it comes to the supplemental for defense, do you know when it's coming?
Not yet, Senator. We're working on it. We do want to continue to assess when it will be needed by and how long the operations will last, but we have it, we're reviewing it, we're well aware, and we'll make sure we send it up.
Sooner rather than later. In terms of illegal immigration, does it cost America or is it a benefit to America?
Illegal immigration costs America, both in crime, in communities being ravaged, but also just the extent to which these individuals on our benefit rolls.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Is it fair to say that every part of the government through the appropriations process has been funded for this fiscal year except ICE and Border Patrol?
Correct.
So as we sit here in the appropriations process, there's no money for these two accounts. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's worse than that. There is no money for the entirety of Department of Homeland Security. Now, the Senate has passed a bill and has—
That's right.
And we need reconciliation to fill those two holes. But as of right now, the Department of Homeland Security is disintegrating because the Secretary and I are having to figure out ways to temporarily fund people's paychecks so that we don't have people quit and embark on new careers.
Do you think if we keep this up much longer, people will quit?
They will indeed, and some of the things that we were seeing the weekend that Secretary Mullen took office was incredibly concerning. We have to have a funding mechanism for the entirety of Department of Homeland Security, including those two important law enforcement agencies.
Would you say if we fail to do that, we put America at risk?
I would.
What kind of risk are we looking at?
Well, the Department of Homeland Security was created for a reason. It was because this body wanted an entire department
It came about after the attacks of 9/11.
That's correct.
So the Department of Homeland Security was a reaction of the federal government to make sure 9/11 never happened again. Is that right?
That's correct.
I want the American people to know there's no money for the Department of Homeland Security because we can't reach an agreement among ourselves. And if you thought the Department of Homeland Security was necessary to avoid another 9/11, the whole damn thing is shut down. So if there is another 9/11, don't blame me. I am trying everything I can do, bipartisan or otherwise, through reconciliation, to put money in an agency that's on the front lines of defending us all. What we're doing here is incredibly irresponsible, incredibly dangerous. And what you said about ICE, I want to disassociate myself completely with what Senator Merkley said. I've been here for a while. I'd like to stick around. I've never been more worried about the dysfunction of this place now, leading to a bunch of Americans getting killed. Thank you.
Support journalism you trust. Support PBS News. Donate now, or even better, start a monthly contribution today.